This is an update at project house number 1, and in this video the block foundation is going up. So it's going to turn this hole from looking like this into looking like this. So stay tuned. I got some time lapse of it going up as well as a lot of the process. Hope you guys enjoy. This video is pretty dark. It was about 9:30 when I was taking this video. It just kind of happened last minute that the guy was able to put the block foundation in. So about 4 o'clock on Friday, I started gathering all the materials. Got the sand here, the Type S masonry cement. Had to go an hour away to get that. Rebar, block, tub of water. Took me about 5 hours to collect all of this stuff, but luckily I had time to do it. The guys installing this is Bice Sons Masonry LTD. I found Gunnar on Facebook and reached out to him, and he was able to get it scheduled, and they came and got this all knocked out. They started around 7 a.m. that morning. It was a Saturday. I unfortunately had plans, so I couldn't be there the whole time. I would have loved to get a time lapse of the entire process, but that just didn't happen. I arrived about 11, and by that time they had probably 80% of it done. They were just finishing up on this final wall. They went really quick, did really good work. If you need anybody for block work, masonry, reach out to them and he can probably get you a quote. Here's just a little cutaway of me showing the other side of this block wall and what they had already got up, why they were still working. As you can see, it all looks very nice. The block wall is pretty much wrapped up now. It's all up and looking good. The only thing they're going to do now, what you see, is they're going to put the anchor bolts in. So there's rebar going up in certain places coming out of the footer, and then there's rebar running through the block, and then they fill that all up with masonry cement and put the anchor bolts in at top. But you see the anchor bolts there, and that is what the seal plate is going to attach to this foundation with. So eventually the seal plate will go right on top of these blocks, and it'll be tightened down with those nuts to hold it tight to this block foundation. So here they are, pretty much just about wrapped up. They just had to stop and wait a few times, waiting for the guy mixing the mortar to get it done. The two guys laying the block went really fast. It took them probably about 5 hours from start to finish to get this whole block foundation laid. And they came out on Saturday, which I was very thankful, and they got this job knocked out. So here's a look of how it looks once it was completely finished. As you can see, the mortar's still wet. It needs to dry a little bit. And this is going to be the base for the new addition that I'm working on. There was an addition already here, but it wasn't in the best shape. If you saw my other videos, you would see the condition of that originally, as well as us tearing that addition off. So basically here we're just redoing it and doing a little bit nicer, so hopefully it lasts a lot longer this time. The original addition, it was more so just a deck sitting on the ground that they just built walls and a roof on, whereas this, we'll have it done the proper way and won't have to worry about any issues going forward, hopefully. So, like I said, this is just a walk around showing the finished product. It's all looking good. Here, I'm going to transition into the video of where I cut the access hole in the current basement wall. That will eventually be the access to this crawl space from the current basement. It's the same video as the one I posted before. So if you've watched that video, you've already seen it, but I figured I'd put it in here because it's kind of goes along with the block work and stuff like that. And then at the very end, I go over the foundation sealer and stuff like that. I'm going to be working on making a hole in the current block foundation, and this will give access to the basement to access that new crawl space that will be going over the addition. So the way we're getting these blocks out, my dad's helping me today. The arthritis doesn't like when I hit a hammer a lot or use vibrations and stuff. So he was nice helping me out. But what we're doing is chiseling out the seams of the concrete block and then just hitting it out with that little sledgehammer. This went very well, a lot quicker than I originally anticipated it going. The first one would be the hardest one to get out, and then after that it went smooth as you guys will see. But what we're doing is just hitting the chisel in those seams, and you break out that seam and then just start hitting it with the sledgehammer, and it's gonna knock it out. And this house is completely gutted. It is stripped down to the studs. There's no drywall, there's no insulation, there's no finishes, there's no flooring. So there's not a lot of weight that this is holding up at the moment. It's just holding up the floor, and you see you got that top board going across the block. So if you were doing a big opening, you would want to build a little support wall if there's like a lot of load on it. But since only one of these beams in the middle is going to be out, the load will pretty much be concentrated on that right and left side. So I was not concerned with building a temporary wall. As I was knocking this out, there wasn't a ton of load on it, and I was building a header and framing this out later on that same day. This whole process took maybe an hour and a half total. But if this was like a really load bearing wall, because this wall isn't load bearing as much, the house is supported on the perpendicular walls. So this parallel wall, the floor system is what it's tied into, so it is carrying a load, but it's not carrying the roof load or the wall load or anything like that. And this hole is going to be 40 inches wide, 40 inches tall. We took out 5 blocks, so there's 3 of them out now, still 2 more to go. And then once they're all out, we'll start framing it in. And again, you see just that one 2x8 floor joist is the only thing on that top board. So that's really the only thing that's not supported at the moment. And there's really no weight on that, being that this house is stripped down to the studs at the moment, so it wasn't a concern at all. But as you can see, now that the first couple are out, these are coming out a lot quicker. They're just because they have more room to move and come out. So what my dad's doing is he'll take that chisel and along the inside, and then I'll go and score the outside to give it a place to fit in there. But now that we have all 5 of them out, cleaning it up and measuring, I got that bottom plate, and then I'm going to measure 2 king studs, and I'm going to put the king studs all the way up to that top plate. So there's the first king stud going in. And I'm cutting, bringing them back and forth. There's the second king stud going in, so that's going all the way from the top plate to the bottom plate. That one was a little long, so I took it back up, cut a little bit more off. Now getting all cleaned up, getting tapped in where we want it to go. We're going to line it up flush with the inside rather than the outside, because these are 2x8s I'm using, but the block is closer to a full 8 inches. It has a little coating on the outside, where the 2x8 is about a ½ inch shy of what the block is. So I'm lining it up with the inside so it looks decent from the inside. And now I'm getting started building the header. I'm using 2x6s for this. I had some 2x6s hardwood laying around. So I measured that, cut, test fit, and I'm going to make this 4. So there's 4 2x6s together to do this, to make the header. And then I'm going to put 2 jack studs on each side. So there's the first jack stud going in on those sides there. The one I need to trim down a little bit more. I wanted these to be really nice and tight to hold it in there really snug, and then just put a couple screws to get it the rest of the way. And this was overbuilding this. Yeah, I did not need 4 2x6s to make the header. It would have been fine with just 2, and really could have been fine with 2 and just 1 king stud and 1 jack stud on both sides, but I had the material here, so I figured better to overbuild than underbuild. So this can really hold a lot of weight. It's only spanning a 40-inch opening, and that's if you don't count the king studs. It's only a 37-inch opening. So this was 40-inch by 40-inch overall. And here's the final look. Right there's the king, and then the header's on top, going right to the top plate. And then we got 2 jacks on both sides. It turned out really nice. This all took about an hour and a half total. And then I just screwed a little plywood on the inside just to kind of block off the hole so no animals get in. But there you can see there's 4 2x6s making that header. And those are actually recycled off the front porch I took off. So I was able to use those here. It's going to be super strong. I'm not sure if the floor system in the addition will be tying into there. So that's the reason I wanted that to be super solid, just in case. But it's always better to overbuild than underbuild. And then there's just a pile of bricks. And now this is the last day and the final day of this project. The contractor came out, put tar basement sealer on all the foundation here. They used the same stuff that I used on the other foundation. This was just part of their bid, so they took care of that. Eventually, I'm going to go down and dig up the other 2 sides of the house and put foundation sealer on it. But now everything is good to go. They're going to hopefully start framing up and the next video should be this framed up, the floor system on, and hopefully studs and trusses. The trusses still aren't here yet, so I'm really not sure when they're going to come or when that's going to get done, but hopefully soon. Thanks for watching.